say,
Well, I
how's
usually
that
have
going?
a brace on, but I didn't wear it. But that's why I wear it, so people won't do that. But
I'm not going to get deep into this.
We close that, Lacey.
My daughter just had a horrendous car crash. Had to be life flighted to Vanderbilt, and we were worried about her upper body and stuff because they flew her not for her physical injuries that you could see, but because they thought she had internal injuries. That's why they flew her there. And
that's a little bit scary.
Yeah.
It was a rough 2 or 3 days, man. But we're good now. She's good.
Okay.
Yeah, I made the mistake of talking about that at the front end of that last episode. And
We went to church for a minute. That's
took
what
up the
ran us
whole-
over a little bit. Is they ended up
girls will take
singing
you to
with us.
church.
And
They
it was,
sure
man,
will.
it was good.
Well, it was good for me because, and I'm gonna tell you, them three right there, when they said we're gonna pray for you, they're gonna go do it.
Oh, they are.
I promise
man.
you.
Yeah,
It's like my mother in love. She doesn't like mother-in-law. It's mother-in-love.
I love that.
We were at the Creed concert. My heart was beating in this thing, and she physically laid hands on me. And
Beautiful.
I felt a jolt. I was
Dude,
like,
yes.
I looked at her because I'm Pentecostal. Grew up. I believe in that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, man. So I was like,
Boy, that'd be a good way to start this episode. Got a call last night. My daddy was a Methodist preacher, but he told everybody every time we went to a different place for him to take over churches and stuff, he'd say, the first morning in the pulpit, and that's not the first thing the Methodists want to hear, but he'd say, yes, I'm your new Methodist preacher, but you all need to know that I'm a closet Pentecostal.
that's right. I am filled up with the Holy Spirit.
There you go. And you're right, Darryl Worley. That's a great place to start this next episode of Sounds Like Life with
I
Darryl
love
Worley.
it, man. I love it. That's man. I grew up Pentecostal tabernacle. I was called to preach when I was 10 years old.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Really?
man. There's a lot. The book's coming, man.
Good.
Good.
Can't wait to read it, man. That's exciting
No, I did
stuff.
not know that.
Yeah, man. So I was.
My younger brother was called at 14.
It's
And then he waited until my daddy was way on up yonder in years to put a hardcore calling on him. He said he always, man, there's so many Worleys that like the first 4 Worleys that came to the United States, 3 of those brothers were Lutheran pastors.
really.
And the other one was one of the most notorious pirates that ever lived.
I think that was
And my
part of
daddy
family.
my daddy goes, "That's you."
That's you, Dave. We chose the notorious business. That's,
Yeah.
Oh, no
that's-
doubt.
man. Yeah, my ancestors are all American Indian on my mom's.
I did know that you had that.
Yeah, and so it was. We've got a lot of medicine women and Pentecostal preachers. How did I go wrong? I don't know. I feel like we should bring the tabernacle back, Darryl. That's good.
Explains the
Don't-
They
music.
might not let me in.
Yeah.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Yeah.
I tell you, man, the more of these episodes, like this thing with my daughter and other things. This has been kind of I don't want to say it's been a difficult year because I might talk too much and then next year might be worse. He might be saying, hey, you're like Job. You can take a whole lot more than that. But
No, man.
But
No,
it's the older I get and the more I go through, the more I see his work in my life, the more I kind of feel it's not about some kind of obligation. It's about the things that he's done for me. I just love him because I know he loves me.
Absolutely. I wish we could all say it was in our DNA, but we grew up with it in our DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
oh, that's right.
man, through all the addiction stuff I've been through, I can always say this: 2 things have remained the same: the gift he gave me, 'cause that's not faltered, and
Boy.
feeling his hand on the back of my head.
Yeah.
In the times when I should have been dead.
Yes.
And so those are the things.
Amen to that, my friend.
Those are the things I talk and write about these days. But I wake up every day, and one thing I've learned is, I give the day, I give my heart, my life to God, and to the day, and how I can be of service. Whether it's with wellness or just. I watched my other half yesterday. The lady's credit card declined 3 times, and I turned around, looked at her, and I said, all 3 of those kids yours? She goes, yes, sir, they are. I said, your credit card or mine, Alex? And,
I know how that is.
And it's a blessing. To be
I
able to
did
do
that at
man.
the Dollar General here a while back, and
It's a blessing to be able to do that.
these 3 little kids, I don't know how people survive, man. And for us to even, I'm not saying I could go out and do that every day, but if I can do it once a month or something.
The cool part about that was with this particular story, the smallest one. I started to say littlest. Where are you from, boy, Alabama? The littlest one walked by me. He held up his hand and said, "You know Jesus?" I said, "I do know Jesus."
Oh, man.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I found
Without
him.
even.
Yeah, thank you for the grub.
Oh,
he was-
nobody even sprung that on him. He knows because
he knows.
Hey, God is love. He knew.
Alex and I fell out laughing. Just it was.
I would have died laughing
It
because
was a cool thing, but yeah, man. So for me, you and I've been in this business a good long while, and to see how our stories change. Right down from just real life to taking real life to the stage. And I know that there's a comfort level for me because it's so real. Now, just. And people say, "Where you been, man?" I said, "You got Google? you got 5 albums to catch up on."
Yeah.
People think when they start hearing us on the radio that we're
I know
that we're musically deceased.
I know,
We're
man.
not.
They introduce me and they'll say, "Tell by my hits," and this, that, and the other, and then they'll go 5 albums or 6 albums, and I just got to counting. My wife just had a big birthday party for me. She had these 4x4 foot. Vinyls made of every album except there was a couple she left out.
That's
and
cool.
it's like twice that many.
That's cool, man.
They don't know.
They don't know. It's
Bless their hearts.
But they always say, you had 4 number ones. I'm like, no, I had 5.
Yeah.
Don't
short
you know
me
how hard
that
it is
one.
to get one of those. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't short me one.
They're
Exactly.
like, what chart was that? I was like, Gavin, it counts.
I'll take it on any chart. I don't care.
Well, and that's the thing with both of y'all, the number of songs that, most people have never even heard, but are just that unbelievable. The lyrics are just
that weren't
deep and
singles.
That weren't singles.
That's the ones I love the most.
I mean,
usually.
and that's
man.
some of the
missed hits.
research.
That's what I call them. The missed hits.
Yes.
It's so fun though, because today, you can have an internet hit, and I was like, "What the hell's that? Is it cheaper?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's a lot cheaper." But
it's just a lot cheaper and pays a lot less.
It does, but it does. But to watch all of those great songs, whether I wrote them or not, resurfacing,
Right.
and having new fans discover them, and then just I can't tell you how many times I get on the internet now, dude. We thought you were dead. I'm like, where's your Google?
Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you if you get this. And this is the one that probably bothers me the most, but I've gotten myself to where I don't let it get me all whacked out because I don't want to. Used to, I just didn't care, but I don't want to say anything to anybody nowadays that'll hurt anybody or cause them maybe not to go look up some of my music. But
hey, are you Kenny Rogers?
No, it is. I knew you played a little music, but what do you do for a living?
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Do you ever get that?
Oh,
I get it. I don't know why. I think it must be because I look like I bury water lines or something.
but what's your job?
Exactly. Is that a full? I know you don't do that full time. No, I do. Believe it or not.
Didn't you used to be Ty Herndon? Yeah.
That's terrible.
I'm a little bit older and wiser, but I'm still him, man.
Yeah. That's funny.
That is fun.
The biggest thing that we have been through, and I still feel the effects of it today, is like because of Have You Forgotten? Oh, it so got in the way. People don't understand when I say that song was a blessing and a curse. They can't understand the curse part. They're like, oh, what are you talking about? But it so got in the way of our branding and all of a sudden,
there's a piece of you that's forever that.
Nobody wanted Darryl Worley on their tour.
Right.
Like we got kicked off of 2 just like that. Brooks and Dunn and Alan Jackson. Boom, we're gone. I mean, I was feeling a bunch of like Brad Paisley. He's starting to do some of his own shows by himself. Headlining his own shows. So we're filling that spot right in front of Brooks and Dunn, and it was the same time they had out Only in America, and they had this big military thing that would happen at the end of the show with that song, and we played Have You Forgotten right when it hit number 1 over at that big amphitheater in St. Louis.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, dude, we played like I had like what, one or two other hits at that time, and
Yeah.
we played those. It was 30 minutes, and we played a few cover songs, and then we played "Have You Forgotten." It took the freaking wind out of the room.
Right. Yeah, it's
hard to follow.
It's a tidal wave of patriotism
And they called
and honor. Yeah.
They called Ted, my manager, Ted and Anita, on Monday and said, we won't be following "Have You Forgotten" no more. He said, we love Darryl, but that ain't gonna work.
That's almost an act of terrorism right there in itself. Don't kick the man off the tour because I've got,
Well, I mean,
Or
no,
somebody else doing acts of
we
terrorism
totally
with that, but
we totally got it. I was like, I told them, I said it's made that whole big thing at the end was kind of anticlimactic,
Yeah.
And
I get it.
And
I
so
guess,
that was
but
it.
not really.
And because of that, we had to start going out and doing our own things, and we just weren't to that point.
Well,
So
man,
it changes everything.
My story like that's not as fun, but no, that's actually I don't like that. That's
tough.
like, yeah, but I was on tour at the beginning with Leanne Rhymes,
Right.
She's all of 13, but I knew her since she was 8 years old, so
Right.
a long time. But so about in the middle of the tour, her dad and Rod Essex from the booking agency came. I said, "What are you doing here?" He goes, "Well, I got good news and bad news. The good news is you're still on the tour, but the bad news is you're not the headliner anymore, so you'll be the opening act." And so they flipped us, and right in the middle of the tour, and it's because she's like my daughter. It was so funny. We started laughing, and she said, "Don't worry, Uncle Ty, I'll come out there and sing a few songs with you." And so she did. She came out, and she came out, and we did 3 or 4 songs together. But there was no denying that tidal wave because because I certainly wasn't pulling 20,000 seats in
at
there
that time, man.
Yeah.
Oh, it was huge.
She was a rocket ship. And
Oh
so
yeah.
it was. I said, "We're fine, baby girl. Let's just keep going."
Well, that's
Super
just it.
fun.
Don't bite the hand that feeds you. In this business right here, man, if I didn't have like ultra thick skin, I would have never even been able to hang around in town long enough to get a record deal. Now, I think I would have been just fine as a songwriter. Things were starting to happen for me in that, like right up as soon as I finally made the commitment and came here, it was like I waited forever.
Right. Yeah.
And I didn't really want to come here. Honestly,
I hear a lot of people say that, but you almost got to be here. You got to jump in that
they put it
river.
in my contract. They literally, it's in my contract that you got to move to Nashville because I had avoided it in every way I possibly could. Yeah. And but when I came, the songwriting stuff, it was just starting to, man, and I'm like, okay, I can handle this. And then they started hammering on me over there at EMI about doing this record deal thing, and I'm like, I think I might be too old to start all that, and I've already done that. I wound up being 35 years old when I signed my first deal.
I was 31, man.
I remember you and I
31.
stood at one of those music industry meetings. Halls. I was still writing for Rick Hall out of Muscle Shows
Rick.
then,
Wow.
and they brought me to that meeting, and me and you stood over by the Coke machine and talked all evening.
Yep.
You had on like a Letterman's jacket, and I said, "Is
did.
that Ty Herndon?" And Mark Hall goes, "Yes, it is." And so I came over and just said hello, and we talked a bunch because I didn't know nobody else, and
We didn't know we were old then.
we didn't.
Well, listen, I worked at Opryland, and you know, and we were the Tennessee River Boys
That's
that turned
right.
into Diamond Rio.
Yep.
So Marty Rowe took my place,
Right.
and I went off to do the solo thing, and I had a record deal. I came back to Nashville, but they didn't want anybody that was on TV. So it took me. I lost that deal. It took me 10 more years.
Yeah.
I moved to Texas, and was traveling with the band back and forth because my friend that lived out there, she goes, "You need to come out here and rake in some of this money because these bands are killing it out here."
I worked out there for two and a half years without ever hardly leaving the state.
I put me a little band together, rented a Ryder truck, and we didn't have a name, so we became Ryder West. That was
That's awesome.
That was funny.
I did not know that.
yeah, and I worked out there and eventually moved to Texas. And when I won Texas Entertainer of the Year, they got me back to Nashville.
Very cool.
And I had to do
Now,
I did a live audition, man, just like the Judds. So
What association of that in Texas? There's like 2 or 3 different award shows.
it's the Terry Award.
I know exactly. That's the big one.
Yep,
And you won the Entertainer of the Year.
I did. This
I did
they
not know
still
that.
don't know I'm not from Texas. We're not going to tell them. But I'm probably the
You
only
just
non-Texan
did.
yet. But Margie Hunt walked up to me, handed me her business card, and I was like, "Sure, you're from Sony." You know, I was actually just a little smart ass because I was like, so many people come up and
I get
say
it.
those things, but they called them that Monday morning. They called and said, "We'd like you to come down and do a live audition." But I came down here, man. When they saw me, I was fake playing the guitar and had a lid on, had a hat. And I showed up there and I was like, "Well, where's your guitar?" I said, "I don't play guitar. I just plug it in, turn the light on, and it just looks good." Man, I said, "Well, where's your hat?" I said, "Well, I don't normally wear one of those either." And said, "Well, how are you gonna sing for us?" And I said, "Man, I grew up Pentecostal. I don't need a guitar."
Exactly.
Hey.
So I went into How Great Thou Art, and then a little bit of Jack Green. There Goes My Everything. It was just 3 people, and they just looked at me, and then I just walked out. I was like, "Okay, well, that was fun." And I got almost to my truck.
That's about how sterile
I
it
got
is.
almost to my truck, and Margie Hunt came around. I said, "Where you going? We're gonna give you a deal." I said, "I was going to lunch. Are you buying? Let's go."
Let's go. Yeah, I love
But
that.
that's how unimportant it became to me because I was working out there. And
Oh,
that's
yeah.
that's a different land, out
Dude,
there.
I am totally, and I guarantee it's because we were older, because we were too old to look at it like the young kids that'll say, "I'll sign anything. I'll sign anything you give me."
Wait, I didn't say I didn't do that.
Well, no, but I'm just saying to just have the deal.
didn't know.
I'll sign
Right.
anything, and I would not. I said no. I said, man, our deal drug on forever at DreamWorks, and Wayne Halper called me. Their lawyer called me and said, "This thing's gonna go south." I said, "I wasn't looking for a deal,"
Right.
and he's like, "Oh my God, Darryl." I'm like, "I wasn't looking for a deal, man." I said, and I had all of EMI's lawyers on my side, and I'm just going,
Here's a good question for you. Did you get a sign-in bonus? 'Cause
a small one. I didn't get
Did you?
nothing, I didn't get nothing crazy.
I found out way later that I got one. I was like, "Well, who got that money?" I was like, "I can't say. Read the book."
There you go.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like, wow.
absolutely.
It was-
Oh, I got a bunch of those stories.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and I found out where all the money was going. Like when I realized, like on my last record over there, I got over $400,000 for my record budget.
Yeah.
And I went straight to my producer and said, "How much money we've been spending on records?" And he goes, "Well, the last one was like $350,000. And I said, "Where'd all that money go?" He goes, "You know, man, I honestly," he said, "when I've got that much money to play with," he said, "I'll find a way to spend it because."
Right.
But I said, "But Frank," I said, "that's my money. I can take, if I want to take $100,000 of that and put it in my bank account, it's my money."
Yeah.
And so
If you know about
guess
it.
what I did on the 400? Exactly that.
You
And I
did
told,
that.
and James Trout got so mad, he was having a fit. And I said, "Look, we don't need no $100,000 catering for this deal." I said, "We can eat pizza."
Right.
And that's what we did. Boy, well, that's one of the reasons I got kicked off once the,
This is good stuff.
I was gonna say, it's must-see
because we got,
TV right
what do we
here.
got to lose? Who's talking about it at this point? But
it's the truth. What you're saying.
It's crazy because I went back and audited my record
You
label
have to go
because
back.
there's 6 million albums sold, and I still got a dent in my truck.
Yeah.
I receive a dime of that, and you go back and do the audit. Joe Diffie, God rest his soul, told me to do that. He goes, "It's going to cost you $20,000." He goes,
That's what it costs.
But
that's what it costs.
It'll be
$20,000.
worth it. And,
Well, I've done it more than once on the publishing side, and I get money every time.
well, I saw the audio sheet, and I'm like, this would be interesting for you guys. $250,000 for a photo shoot in Napa
I know.
Valley. $500,000 for album budget. Today we probably could make a great sounding album for $10,000.
You know we can.
Yes, and
And we could have then.
we just
Wow.
we
But
had
it
to
wouldn't have
the-
been able to been done the same way.
Right.
Well,
Right.
you wouldn't have had people read the credits back then. You wouldn't have the Larry Londons and the
it's
and the Paul
just-
Worleys and all these great pickers and songwriters, and those album credits were everything.
It's just insane.
It
I
is,
mean,
man. But the way people talk about the music business, and we think about, well, what was it for Patsy Cline? And
Oh, I
how
can
crazy what we were doing would have looked to her.
Yes.
And then how crazy it looks to us now
Right.
that with what we can do.
It
And
cycles, man.
It
That's
does.
amazing
part of
history
it.
right there.
And the shows become just your favorite thing, because there was a while I didn't want to do those anymore. But
Oh,
then,
yeah.
because I wasn't authentically, just being able to tell my stories about my growing up, about my grandpa, about my religion, about my life, and just it's the same bubble we all live in.
Well, I want to say this before Because
He's got to get on stage. I'm looking down
I
at this
see
clock.
him getting fidgety over there.
He knows
I
it's
want to
coming.
say this, man.
We ain't even gone Jesus yet.
I know it. I know it.
We almost got started, but it's probably a good thing we didn't. That might be another episode. Early on, I mean, I was all over things that were happening with you with different songwriters. Like I heard, What Matters Most, I heard them in the studio doing the demo.
Wow,
So I
Gary.
knew all those guys, and I knew who had been writing on it and stuff, and was keeping up with all this. Because then he goes, "Yep, I think we're fixing to get a Ty Herndon cut," and I'm like, "He will freaking." And dude,
Man.
you've got some music out there that if people haven't heard it, and those were great records, man.
They were. We both
I don't
have
care
some,
who
we have
all-
some timeless work.
Those were great records, and I mean, you song. Nobody could have done those songs better than you. And I've always been a fan, and I'm really, really, really thankful for you coming
Thank you, man.
by and doing this.
Same.
And it went by too quick, but we can do it again sometime.
Anytime.
And let me tell you something. God knows I wouldn't have believed that I would have ever even done this. This is not me. It's not. Or I guess it is, because this is really work. This is really working.
You're
We've
natural,
got a
man.
ton of people coming and watching this, and you'll get a little kick out. You'll get a little boost out of this. So
You want to know why it's working?
I don't know.
Because it's real.
It's real, man.
Sounds like life.
Amen.
Sounds Like Life with Darryl Worley is a Blue Spire music production. Hosted by Darryl Worley and Travis McLeese. Produced and edited by Mike Murphy and Sam Hudson. Set design by Sam Hudson. Theme song Sounds Like Life to Me by Darryl Worley. Executive producers Paul Perry, Julianne Drennan, and Travis McLeese.
But it's what I'm gonna say. Sounds like life to me.